About 15 years ago, Audi introduced the smallest vehicle in their lineup, the A3 Sportback. Now, at the time, in 2006, Americans were just getting over the not-so-great BMW 318 Ti and, of course, the Mercedes-Benz C230 compressor. Now, Audi did it right with the A3 because it offered 4 full-size doors, and it was a relatively practical, affordable, and also luxurious vehicle, even though it was Audi's smallest offering. Now, of course, that was then, this is now, and today I'm standing by the completely redesigned 2022 Audi S3. Remember, the S3 wasn't technically offered in America until 2015, and because the segment has continued to grow and evolve, Audi has flown me out here to snowy Denver, Colorado to drive the new A3 and S3, and the big question I want answered, has Audi made enough changes to their newest small sedan to keep this model still at the top of its game? Stay tuned to find out. So I was a pretty big fan of the original S3 when this second generation model came out in 2015. It was one of my favorite models. And of course, since then, everything has changed in this segment. We have a new A-Class and CLA. BMW has its rather atrocious looking M235 or 2 Series Grand Coupe. So now that we finally are standing by the new third generation S3, let's go ahead and take a look at the design and see all the changes that Audi has made. Now, of course, I'm starting out this video with the S3. I will be driving an A3 after I drive this model, although I have very limited time with this car. In fact, I just flew in from LA and I wasn't really prepared to be dealing with all of the snow that Denver is getting up here in the mountains. But as you can see, this S3 model is probably painted in a color that I would go for personally myself. This is Navajara blue. It's a really gorgeous dark blue that's really luscious. It really goes well with the lines of the new A3 and S3. Now, of course, all A3 and S3 models now come standard with the company's full LED headlights. These headlights are pretty similar to what you find in the newest generation of A4 to the e-tron. These are the full matrix design, full LED headlights. You can see it includes a sequential LED turn signal. The headlights themselves include LED low and high beams, adaptive headlights. They also have automatic high beams. And when you lock and unlock a car, it kind of does this little dance with the lights to, again, give you a nice little detail that makes this vehicle look even more premium. Now, the one thing about the new A3 and S3, all of them come with their signature single frame Audi corporate grille, but now you also get the honeycomb finish even on the A3. This S3 model you can see has a slightly larger look to the honeycomb. There's a subtle S3 badge right there to the side, and then you have slightly larger air intake openings in the grille, although these right here are just for looks. They're just a fake design. But you can see with the black optics package that this one has, this is the fully loaded Prestige, it certainly looks pretty nice. It has very baby A4 and S4 looks to them. One thing you're going to notice about the S3 is you get this additional area right here where this is not functional, but it's that fake looking vent that you don't get in the regular A3. Now, moving along the side profile, you can see this is still built off of the MQB architecture. It shares a platform, of course, with the latest Golf GTI. And Audi made it slightly larger this year, although the lines give this thing a nice well proportion. Its wheelbase is now 103.8 inches long. Its overall length is just a smidge shy of 177 inches, although the S3, because of its bumpers, has a slightly longer overall length by about 0.4 inches. This vehicle is also 0.5 inches taller and 0.8 inches wider to give it more of an aggressive stance. Now, A3s come standard with 17-inch wheels. S3s upgrade you to 18s. These are the optional 19-inch wheels that come with the black optics package. You can see the brakes are also red painted because you have the sport package. I'm riding on these summer Bridgestone tires, which is not the great tire choice right here in the mountains where it's 32 degrees and it's kind of cold. All S3s continue to be quattro all-wheel drive. And you can also option in the sport differential, which I believe this car has. It's a really nice looking overall package, but sadly Audi is not offering the Sportback or the hatchback in the States. You're only going to be able to get it as a sedan. Moving over to the rear of the vehicle, you can see the taillights, a lot of resemblance to the current S3 and A4 and S4. And I really like the new sequential LED turn signals. These are the dynamic turn signals you can see. They're actually amber illuminated, even though it's all red. And then you have a nice subtle S3 badge. The quad outlet exhaust is actually real. Audi's been really annoyingly doing a lot of fake exhaust on a lot of their other products, although some of these vents here on the back you can see of the rear diffuser are fake, so sadly that's kind of annoying. But I do like the very subtle rear lip spoiler. Also keep in mind that Audi will also be introducing an RS3 that'll be coming by next summer. And then when you open up the trunk is a little bit on the small side. The S3 measures in at 8.3 cubic feet. If you guys go for an A3, that'll expand it out to 10.8 cubic feet. So I believe there's additional structure bracing in the S3 that lowers the cargo capacity, but it's still relatively practical, not as good obviously as a hatchback would be. So let's hop into the interior of the new Audi S3. You can see here's the key fob for the vehicle. It's their current Audi key. I actually like it. It's small. It feels good in your hands. This intelligent access key is going to be standard on this model because it's the Prestige trim. And then when you open the door, you can see my tester has the optional fine Napa leather. This is like a $1,250 upcharge, and it has the typical light gray interior, which Audi and German vehicles tend to really like the gray. They also have a black interior as well with the S model. You can see the seats, they're heated. They have adjustable bolstering or adjustable lumbar, and these are like, I believe, 10-way or 12-way power adjustment. The headrest is also fixed in place, but these are really nice looking seats. It goes well, of course, with the rest of the interior. Now, of course, let me get inside and show you guys this new cabin. Stepping inside, it does feel low. It's a sedan, of course, and then when you shut the door has a nice solid sounding thunk. So I typically expect that with German vehicles, and the A3 and S3 is certainly no exception. Now the button to fire up the engine is actually down here by this new paddle, or this new razor blade style shifter. And you can see the interior is definitely a new design, although we do have a lot of the typical technologies that Audis are known for. You have their virtual cockpit display here. This is the upgraded 12.3-inch display, which is customizable. It's now an OLED display. And then all A3s and S3s come standard with a 10.1-inch display here, part of the Audi MMI interface system. Navigation is going to be extra, but I like how Audi actually didn't do the 2-screen. Instead, you have traditional hard buttons here for the climate control, for your drive mode selector, and then you have a screen over here up top, which is nice. You can see this is all pretty typical. In terms of the materials, this is still an Audi product, so you expect it to have good materials. You can see there's some faux stitching up here on the dash. This is nice and padded. This is also padded right here. You have a new heads-up display when you guys go for the Prestige package, which you couldn't get before on an Audi A3 or S3. This material here on the door panel is slightly padded. It's more rubberized. It could be a lot softer. You have metal trim for the door handles, which is nice. You have 2-person memory seats. The window controls have the same tactile, high-quality feel that you expect from Audis. They also offer a power folding feature if you guys want to fold the mirrors in, which is nice. The steering wheel, you can see, is actually a rather large steering wheel. I'm surprised the diameter is so big. I would have rather Audi went with a flat bottom design. I imagine the RS3 will have that. But you can see here it's a tilt telescoping manual. Good amount of adjustability, which makes it easy to kind of get a comfortable driving position. You can see the virtual cockpit display. You can kind of adjust this. You can even put your audio. You can put your GPS right here, which looks great. Still one of the best systems in the industry, so I really like the way this cabin is laid out. And then you can see here when you go to the wireless CarPlay, this is my phone that's connected right now. It looks great on this bigger display. So I think Audi did a really great job here. I love how it's wireless. Now down here you can see you have 3-level heated seats, which I'm going to be using in this cold part of the area. You have a drive mode selector here that you can cycle between comfort, auto, dynamic, and individual. That also will adjust the adaptive suspension my tester has. I mentioned it has a sport differential earlier in the walk around. That's actually false. This car does not have a sport differential. That'll be coming in the RS3. I was thinking of the S4, so my mistake there. You have a wireless phone charging pad there. Right here you can see there's controls for your audio system, which there's no more knobs for anything like that. To turn the volume up, you have to like spin your finger around this wheel here. It's touch sensitive. You can also mute it. You can skip. You can skip tracks. You can turn the system off completely. This is a touch sensitive area here, and there's a lot of piano black, which I imagine is going to get dirty pretty quick. So I'm not terribly a fan of this. I wish Audi had put like wood trim here or aluminum trim, kind of like this texturized aluminum that they have right here. This shifter is going to cause a lot of controversy with a lot of enthusiasts because they like the traditional shifter. This is very reminiscent of the Porsche 911 with this kind of razor blade shifter. You push it all the way up to go to reverse. You can see when you do that, Audi now offers a full top-down 360 camera, which you couldn't get before. It also has automatic parallel parking, which is nice. This is definitely a nice upgrade. The screen and graphics resolution is also pretty good. Kick it all the way back to go to drive, kick it again to go to sport, and then push this P button to go to park. So it's easy to use. It's just different, and some people don't really like change. I think it's good, although I wish they didn't put piano black plastic trim here. It's going to show scratches or dust really easily. Over here you can see there's nice cup holders, which can hold this pretty large size water bottle. Electronic parking brake over here. You have a 12-volt power outlet. You have 2 USB-C charging ports over there. And then when you open this up, you can see center console is a little bit narrow, but it's nice that they give you some storage. This is also adjustable, which I love. Audi or Volkswagen has been taking that away in a lot of their products, but it's nice to see Audi including that. These seats you can see are very comfortable and supportive. They have adjustable thigh extenders, and they're also heated, like I mentioned, although Audi doesn't offer cooled seats on the A3 or S3, so that's kind of disappointing. Open this up, you can see the glove box is big. It's damped. It's lined with felt as well. And then above me, you can see there is LED lighting in the cabin, which is what you expect. There's also a pano roof, although it's kind of like a half pano roof. But it's nice that Audi gives you something larger than just a standard sunroof. So overall, the interior is about what I expected from Audi. It feels roomy in this vehicle. It's got great tech in it now. And I think a lot of people are going to be satisfied. And it's also one of the higher quality interiors in the segment. Let's take a look at the back seat of the new Audi S3. Now, because the vehicle is slightly larger, Audi was able to increase the rear seat space, but it is still pretty small by compact sedan standards. You can see, looking at the overall space, Audi says you get around 35 inches of legroom back here, which is pretty comparable to other small sedans like a Honda Civic, but you wouldn't really be comparing this to a Honda Civic, but it's pretty similar to a Volkswagen GTI or Golf R. Now, let me get back here. At 5'7", I definitely noticed the opening could be larger. The door doesn't open very big. So again, it reminds you this is a small car. But once I get back here, there's actually a pretty good amount of space. I'm actually pretty comfortable back here. There is good foot space underneath the floor. These sports seats also look pretty good. You have 2 map pockets. You have rear seat air vents, which is great. You have 2 USB-C charging ports over there. And then materials, it is surprisingly hard touch plastic back here. I wasn't expecting that, considering this is an Audi. I know it's their smallest Audi, but I wanted that to be soft touch there. The seats have the nice diamond quilting. This has the upgraded premium leather for like $1,200. They look great. You got real metal trim in back here, and you even get adjustable ambient lighting. Open this up, you can see there's cup holders with a nice armrest. It's nice and padded. And if you do want to put 3 people across, there is a nice hump here that's going to intrude on your space. So overall, it's not bad. Usable for average size adults, but if you have friends that are over 6 feet, it's going to feel a little tight. Underneath the hood of the newest Audi S3, I'm going to focus on this because this is what I have right now. This is still a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. However, Audi has now upped the power, and it's the most powerful offering in the segment. You can see, looking underneath the hood, this is still a 2-liter turbocharged TFI direct injection 4-cylinder that develops now 306 horsepower. I believe that's an increase of almost 20 ponies over the previous generation and 295 pound-feet of torque. That's about 4 more horsepower than what you get in the BMW and the Mercedes equivalent. So Audi's very proud of the fact that this has the most power now. It all goes out through a 7-speed dual clutch transmission, their DSG transmission. There's no manual transmission available. It wasn't available on the previous generation anyways. And Quattro all-wheel drive, of course, is going to be standard with their sport differential optional. Now, fuel economy has been improved. The S3 is rated at 23 in the city and 32 on the highway, so pretty decent fuel economy. Premium gas is going to be required, of course, when you guys go for the S3. Performance is also best in class. Audi says this will accelerate to 60 in 4.5 seconds, and it'll reach a top speed of 155 miles an hour. Now, of course, because this vehicle is new, it's got more technology in it. It is slightly heavier, but it still weighs in at around 3,500 pounds, so light by German car standards. So the S3 was nice, but Audi's going to sell more of these A3s, and for 2022, they definitely improved things. They added an electrified option, and they also improved the fuel economy by about 25%. Now, it's not much to look at under the hood, but this is still the company's 2-liter TFSI gasoline direct injection turbocharged 4-cylinder. It now has a new name because it's called an MHEV, and Audi did that because it now has a 48-volt mild hybrid system. So what that essentially is, it allows for a lot smoother start-stops, and we'll be showing that later on on the road when I'm driving this vehicle. But it also has improved the fuel economy by about 25%. Now, numbers, they're actually up when you compare it to last year, or the 2020 model's front-wheel drive version, which had 184 horsepower. Now it has 201 horsepower and 221 pound-feet of torque. If you guys are keeping score, that's a reduction of about 27 horsepower versus last year's Quattro all-wheel drive A3, which had 228 horsepower. Audi says that they reduced the power of the base A3 across the board because they said it was already fast for the segment, or faster than the rest of the vehicles, and they really wanted to improve the fuel economy. And now you get the same power whether you go for front-wheel drive or go for the all-wheel drive. All of them still use a 7-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission. It's your only transmission option. And like I said earlier, front or all-wheel drive. Now, fuel economy, on the front-wheel drive version, you'll get up to 29 in the city and 38 on the highway. That's class-leading numbers. And then when you guys go for all-wheel drive like this one, it drops it down to about 27 city, 36 highway. So still really great numbers for the segment. And the beauty about the 2-liter is you can now use this with regular grade gas. You don't even have to put premium this. You do have to put that in the S3. Now, in terms of curb weight, this is a little bit lighter versus the S3, but still at around 3,300 pounds. She's certainly no lightweight. The front-wheel drive version will shave off about 100 pounds. 0 to 60 times, Audi says you'll basically do that in about 6.6 seconds for front drive, 6.3 for all-wheel drive. And in terms of the top speed, these models will reach a top speed of about 130 miles an hour. So I am starting my driving in the S3, which is technically backwards. I should be starting in the A3 first, but I happened to snag the S3 this morning first. And I've been really excited to drive this car because this is the Audi S3. This is one of the best small performance compact luxury sedans that you can buy. And Audi is very proud of the fact that this car now has 306 horsepower. And for the record, that's more horsepower than the Mercedes, more horsepower than the BMW. So there's bragging rights there. And Audi also claims a 0 to 60 time of 4.5 seconds. Now, here in Colorado, we're not going to be able to get 4.5 because we are at elevation. I'm driving up this mountain right now, and we're probably going to go up to about 8,500 feet above sea level. So I'm estimating this car will probably do it in the 5-second range. There is launch control on this vehicle. But one of the cool things about the new A3 and about the new S3 is you can get magno-rheological dampers or adaptive suspension in this vehicle now, which should improve the ride quality and improve the handling characteristics. So I have it in sport mode, dynamic mode. Okay. Nice. You know, for a car that has only 306 horsepower, this thing certainly feels like it punches higher than its numbers would suggest. And Audi has been working hard to improve the steering feel in their vehicles, and I'm definitely noticing the steering in this car is actually not bad. It has good heft to it. Still could use a little more feedback, but this 7-speed dual clutch is just a really great partner for this engine. You can feel a little bit of understeer there, but the car has a little bit of power oversteer because of the ability for this quattro all-wheel drive system to send a little more power to the back. It doesn't have the drift mode that you can get in the Golf R, but that's coming in, of course, in the Audi RS3. The S3 is designed to be more of a GT car. And I mean, I've driven the Golf R, the new one, briefly, and I definitely noticed this car feels a lot more refined, as it should. It's an Audi. I mean, this one that I'm driving is probably a little over $50,000. It's the fully loaded Prestige version. The sound is also nice. It's got some induction noise that I'm hearing. It's being funneled in. And there's a little bit of burbles and crackles from the exhaust, just a little bit. Right there, you can sort of hear it. And then when it shifts, it has that nice little burble and snap. It's nice. The grown-up feeling that you get with this car is still very much present, but Audi's kind of upped the refinement, they've upped the performance, they've really improved the ride quality too. And it's also not a loud car. I did notice a little bit of road noise when I was on the highway earlier, but it's a nice car to just daily with good ride quality and just really good feel. Now let's go ahead and just try out the launch control here. Audi says basically you just have to put it into sport mode here and floor the brake and the accelerator. Oh, nice. You know what? I got 4.99 seconds there, considering that I'm at elevation up here. That's actually not bad. With quattro all-wheel drive, it just kind of launches out of the gate so hard. And that was also on an incline. I was at a 4% grade there. Very impressive performance. I was not expecting 4.99 seconds, 0 to 60 on my first run there. So bravo, Audi. They claim 4.5. I believe it. It's a great bragging right that you're going to get, and amazing for the performance. So looking forward to getting into the A3 as well and seeing what that can do. Audi says 6.3 for that model. But the seats also are a little bit more aggressively bolstered in the A3 or the S3, so that holds you in place a little bit better, which is good. The whole package of this car feels very grown up. I mean, if you like the A4 or the S4, this S3 has a lot to offer. And I think people are going to be really enjoying the overall drive. I mean, I'm having trouble finding things that I don't like about this car. They've even managed to improve the interior space in this vehicle. It feels like it's a roomy car, surprisingly. But I gotta say, driving this model here, it gets me super excited for the RS3, because that's the one that's gonna have an extra 100 horsepower over this car, which this thing already feels plenty fast. And the old RS3 was just a hoot and a a hoot and a horn. It was a fun car to drive that could do 0 to 60 in under 4 seconds. So yeah, the overall package with this S3 is very impressive, and I think Audi's done a good job here with delivering an amazing encore. Remember, we're now in its 3rd generation of this platform, and it's a really nice car. So now we've switched over to the A3, and remember, this has about 100 less horsepower than the S3, and Audi also actually reduced the power compared to the old model. And you definitely feel it's a lot slower than the S3. I mean, a lot's a little pushing it. We are at elevation here. And Audi says this model will get to 60 in about 6.3 seconds because I have quattro all-wheel drive, I've got a dual clutch. You definitely get a sense that this model is designed to be more of a commuter vehicle. I mean, it's still very comfortable to drive. It still has great visibility inside and out. It also has a softer feel to it. You also have less noise because the engine's significantly quieter, and we're also driving this new mild hybrid system. Audi calls it an MHEV. So it allows you to basically drive on electric power alone, or not alone, but coast to a stop. So for example, what it is it's a much better start-stop system. So as I approach an intersection and I slow down, the engine will shut off much sooner, and then the transition when the engine wakes up is much smoother as well. So that's kind of where these mild hybrid technologies, the 48 volt system, is markedly improved. Audi says that they decided to go with less power versus last year's Quattro because the old model was just really fast. Audi says it was like a 5.5 second 0 to 60 or 5.8, which was a lot faster than most of its competitors. This one is a little slower, but it also gets 25% better gas mileage. Now, I'm not gonna be able to test fuel economy really on this short loop, on this drive program, although it says 24 mpg right there on the short-term memory. That's from another journalist driving it, not necessarily me. But the one thing about the A3 is it still has a wonderful chassis. I mean, this car feels like it can handle so much more power, so it gets me super excited to drive the RS3. The seats are a little bit less aggressively bolstered in this vehicle, but they're very comfortable, supportive. In terms of the quietness, if I put the vehicle into its comfort setting here, let's go to comfort. This model does not have the adaptive dampers, but it's been tuned for a nice agreeable ride quality. This has more of the typical Audi numbness that I associate, but it also is more of a luxury car, so I kind of expected that. But overall, the regular A3 still a pleasant car to drive, still has good power, although I need to test it out when I'm back in my home area. The elevation here, the turbo engine has to work a little bit harder here because the air is a lot thinner. But in terms of driver assistance tech, Audi's PreSense Basic and front is standard. You have lane departure alert is standard. This model that I'm driving, I believe, has the Prestige package. So it has the adaptive cruise control, the blind spot monitoring, and it would be nice if Audi made it completely standard on every trim, but at least they've been being better at just putting it on their lower end models. And you also get full LED headlights as standard. Before you had bi-xenons, and I think the really earlier models had halogen headlights. So really nice car to drive. I like the size of it as well. I like how Audi kept the size relatively the same. So you get a sense that you are driving a vehicle that's more nimble, that's a lot lighter, that's great if you guys are looking for a small vehicle, but they also managed to increase the interior space and give us an interior that has the latest in Audi tech, but it also doesn't feel ridiculously cheap like you might feel in some of its competitors. So when Audi first introduced the new A3 back in 2006, it really got a lot of respect from enthusiasts and consumers because Audi essentially took a Volkswagen Golf platform and made it into a luxury car. It felt like a small version of a luxury Audi sedan like an A4 or an A6, as opposed to a guzzied up version of a Volkswagen Golf or a Volkswagen Jetta. And after driving the new 2022 models, both the A3 and of course the S3, I'm pretty happy to report that Audi has basically kept that intact, but they've also elevated things with the new A3 and S3. The interior, as you guys saw, got more technology. It's got the latest in Audi's infotainment system. The styling looks a little bit more appealing, very much more mature. Still a little bit on the conservative side for me, especially on the regular A4 sedan, but there's still plenty to like with this vehicle. And because it's also a slightly bigger car, you get a little bit more space in the back seat. Trunk space is still a little bit small. It makes me wish Audi would offer the Sportback in the US. And I'm also waiting to see what Audi is going to do in terms of a full-on electrified version. Now, of course, Audi has their e-tron brand. There's no e-tron A3 coming back for 2022. And we should be seeing the RS3 coming soon. So obviously Audi has different models planned, but really the new A3 pairs up well against its rivals. I mean, the BMW 2 Series Grand Coupe is really an unattractive vehicle in my eyes. And then of course there's the Mercedes-Benz CLA, which is a really nice looking vehicle, but it's also considerably more expensive versus the Audi. Now, speaking of which, if you guys are looking to purchase this new A3 or S3, the vehicles are heading to dealerships right now as we speak, and they start at about $33,900 plus a $1,000 destination charge. Add about $2,000 if you guys want quattro all-wheel drive. This model here, the Premium Plus that I'm standing by, stickers for a total of about $45,000. That's how much you're going to typically spend for an A3 with comparable options or with moderate options. The S3 is about $10,000 more expensive versus a comparable A3, and Audi also continues to offer the S3 in Premium, Premium Plus, and Prestige. The blue S3 that I was showing you guys earlier was around $57,000, which $57,000 is a lot for a small sedan with about 300 horsepower, but it is a little bit less expensive than the last Mercedes-Benz, Mercedes-AMG CLA 35, and you get a car that is a little bit easier to live with and offers a little bit more space in the back seat and overall on the interior. But with all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the 2022 Audi A3 and Audi S3. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.